Dead Cells is a game that I think most anybody can pick up, play, and enjoy. There's very few games that I will recommend to a lot of my friends, but after spending about 10 days with this game, I kind of can't stop talking about it. I'm telling all my friends to be looking for it when it drops. I've been talking about it online, and I know there's a lot of hype behind this game, but it's hype that's well deserved because it's a game that's so beautiful and well crafted that it's worth checking out. It's worth your time, it's worth your money. From the first minute that I booted up and started playing Dead Cells, I knew that I loved it. Dead Cells doesn't waste any time getting you into the action. You basically get a sword, get a bow, and you are off on your roguelite dungeon Metroidvania adventure. You basically play as a decapitated body taken over by this pile of green mushy cells that brings you back to life. It's a game that's light on story, but it's heavy on lore. The game has created a really great world full of unique enemies, cool challenges, great settings. Combat is at the heart of the game. There are tons of different weapons with lots of different variations. You'll get a sword that can set enemies on fire. You'll get a bow that can freeze them. And it's really here where the game shines because the combat is just so much fun to play. It feels very smooth. You feel like you're always in control of your character. The gameplay is pretty straightforward. You crawl through dungeons, finding different weapons, upgrading, fighting enemies, unlocking abilities, progressing through the levels, and ultimately getting into some boss fights. Dead Cells is a roguelite game, so basically every time you die, you start over from the beginning. But the nice thing about the light style is that there are permanent unlock abilities. So every time a level ends, you'll have the ability to cash in these cells that you've collected. And the cells are just kind of a currency. You find the collector who offers you ways to upgrade your health permanently, upgrade how much gold you can save in between rounds, unlock the ability to cash in different weapons for gold, and then eventually unlock more weapons. In these in-between levels, you also have the ability for mutations. These are semi-permanent upgrades per run, and they include things like upgrading your health 30%, giving yourself 1 revival, increasing your DPS after killing an enemy. This is great because it allows flexibility in each play style. Depending on the type of weapons you've collected and the areas that you're about to enter, you might choose to get different mutations. For me, the thing that makes this game so playable is you constantly feel like you're progressing. You're always finding new and better weapons that can totally change your style of play. So maybe you had a bow and arrow this whole time, but then you find an electric whip that can stun your enemies. So instead of just hanging back and firing arrows from a distance, you're up in there, whipping enemies, dropping grenades, freezing them, hitting with your sword, lighting them on fire. Enemies require you to learn their attack and their patterns. You'll do a lot of rolling and dodging depending on the enemies. Some enemies, like these glowing green toxic monster dudes, are just up close and personal. They will swipe at you, attack you, or leap at you, and you can usually avoid them with some dodges. It's when they get all piled up and you get overwhelmed by their numbers that it becomes really challenging, and you have to start using some of your area attack skills to make it through. Other enemies lob exploding grenades. Some enemies have shields that you need to roll through and attack. It's when you get a variety of enemies in one close quarters area that the combat becomes really challenging and super engaging. As you play through the levels, you might find a scroll that increases the strength of your bow. You might find something that increases the strength of your sword. So you basically have a choice each time you go through to decide which weapons you'd like to level up. Every level has at least a couple treasure chests that have a new weapon, and every level has at least one shop where you can spend your gold and purchase new weapons. And you fight your way through these levels, you fight a couple bosses, you get some good weapons, and eventually you're just gonna die. And when you die, you drop all of the cells that you've collected in that particular level. And you start over from scratch. You start over again. Now, this is where games sometimes like Enter the Gungeon or Binding of Isaac I can feel very defeated after playing those games because you are just starting fresh. And as fun as those games are, sometimes I like to feel just a little sense of progression, and that's where Dead Cells really shines for me. At the end of these games, when I die and I start over, I never felt disappointed or I felt bummed out. Sure, it's, you know, if you're within a couple strikes of defeating a boss, like, it's a bit of a bummer to, like, yes, die and lose all your cells. But the nice thing is you're always progressing in this game. You'll always get through at least the first couple maps, get some cells, cash them in, level up your guy in some sort of way. So it always feels like you're moving forward. And I think for me, that's why the game is so playable, why I'm always excited to do one more run. It's what gives Dead Cells that just one more run feel. This game came into my life at like the perfect place because I'm a new father and I don't have a lot of time to sit and play long games like I used to. So it's perfect when you just want to jump in, play for a half hour, pause it, and get back to your life. It's also a game that respects the player in that you can pause it and it saves your progress wherever you are. You don't have to push through the level to get to the save point. It lets you back out and take a break when you need to, and for somebody like me who doesn't have as much time as he used to, that is super important. It makes me feel like I'm respected, my time is respected as a player. The developers have dropped something that I really think is special, and 2018 for me has already had some very strong games, particularly very strong smaller indie games. And as a guy that's getting a little older and now has a kid, these are the type of games that I'm finding myself drawn to more and more. So I'm really excited to have games that are this quality, that offer this kind of gameplay experience, this kind of challenge. It's also a game that I have on Xbox right now, but because I find myself wanting to pick up and play it so much, I'm probably going to buy it on Nintendo Switch as well, just so I have that ability to play on my couch, pick up, play, put it back down. So yeah, guys, this is Dead Cells. It's out on Switch, PS4, Xbox, PC. It's out on everything right now. So if you like what you see here, I think you're going to like this game a lot. Drop a comment. Let me know what you've been thinking about it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you like Dead Cells. I will see you next time.